bankruptcy. You cannot be secure if you're broke, and we have to fix our economy to ensure that we can spend money on the things that we want. In terms of the redundancies, they're done in a way that obviously protects our main effort in Afghanistan, and they are done in a way that will enable us to ensure that we have the skills base we require. But we do have to live within our means. Even countries like the United States are having to make reductions in the defence budget as a result of their large national deficit. If we don't continue to live within our means, then we cannot afford the things we need for security.
All right, Dr. Fox, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. As I mentioned before, on Tuesday, it's International Women's Day, and to mark the occasion, the actress Emma Thompson's travelled to Liberia, the West African country which was devastated by civil war. It took a very heavy toll on women there, but now Liberian women are helping to rebuild their country. Still struggling with poverty and corruption, Liberia has held some democratic elections, and very unusually in Africa, or indeed anywhere else, it has a woman president. Emma Thompson's been travelling with her adopted son, Tindy, a refugee from another African country with a deeply troubled past, Rwanda. And I talked to them both when they were visiting a flower farm. Emma was intrigued by some of the Liberian customs.
This is the handshake. The Liberian handshake goes like this, OK? And then you snap your fingers and put your hand on your heart.
Just for respect.
The reason you snap your fingers is because everyone who came over to found Liberia, or the land of the free, had the tops of their fingers whereas the slaves that they had come away from had the tops of their fingers cut off.
It's the first time I've seen how people shake with that respect and with that tradition of history.
Liberia has been through an appalling civil war. Tindy, you're from Rwanda originally. Now you're back in Africa for the first time since leaving. What's it like?
Seeing all these wonderful African women with their babies at the back and carrying the potatoes to the market. That is one of the most wonderful experiences I've had on this trip, and it has reminded me really physically that one of the things that I really do miss interacting with people and seeing exactly where I came from, and it's not quite so different from where I come from in Rwanda.
Tindy, you had the awful experience of being a child soldier in Rwanda yourself. I gather you've met a rather brave, impressive guy who was a child soldier as well in Liberia. Tell us about that experience.
Yes, indeed. I've met a 26-year-old young boy full of enthusiasm and excitement called Dennis Ouma. And he took me to his wonderfully built hut that I really admired so much in a village called Kanga, and that's the pronunciation of the village in Liberian. Where I had, we shared our experiences, and it was quite emotional. But I don't necessarily feel so emotional when I'm talking about it until I finish most of the talking, and then I fall apart later on.
Liberia's in the very unusual position in Africa of having a woman as president. Now, Emma, I know that you believe that the crucial thing in the development of Africa at the moment is about the position of ordinary women.
Absolutely. I mean, the best prospects for the country seem to reside in the women. It's getting better in pockets, but they're dealing with a tradition which is based in this story that a woman cannot cross the creek because she can't cut a tree down to make a boat to cross the river, so therefore she's less than a man. We heard that story a lot today from the women we were talking to. But we both sense that there's this absolutely fantastic collection of people who could be incredibly productive and lifting their country up, but they do need investing in the young in this country, and particularly young women.
You adopted Tindy back in 2003. Has that tied you emotionally to Africa in a way that wouldn't have happened otherwise?
Yes, I'm sure it's made a huge difference. I mean, I started travelling to Africa for Action Aid in 2000, and I loved it. Was very passionate about it, very curious about it. But meeting Tindy's taught me so much more, and coming with him has been an even richer experience because, you know, we're family, and not family. You know, we're very, very different, but also very much the same. And so we're having this fascinating journey where some things remind us of home, my home, Scotland and England, and then some things I see Tindy being reminded of, and I learn very much through him about what life must have been like when he was little. It's really been remarkable.
Tindy, you studied politics at Exeter University and you're now doing a master's degree in politics. And I just wondered what your ambitions are looking forward, whether they are political.
Well, I've been striving so hard to try to get into human rights, both academically and physically, actually, here in Africa. But later on, I want to be involved in politics as well. Politics as well, especially sometime maybe after 2015 in Britain, London, when I come back. So that's what I want to do.
Well, have you back on the sofa here, I hope in due course then.
Yeah.
Finally, a lot of people see stories about Africa, read stories about Africa and think it's just too depressing. There is absolutely no hope and long-term there's really nothing that can be done. What's your reaction to that, sitting in one of the most troubled parts of a troubled continent?
I always want to tell them, you should try it one day and then see and then make a judgment about it. And, you know, and then we carry on the conversation from there.
I suppose what I'd love to address is the fact that people are very cynical about aid. And there are some areas in which I'm very cynical about aid. But I've been watching the effects of aid in small pockets, certainly. But where else are you going to start? In Liberia, and been absolutely overwhelmed by the joy and inspiration and commitment and dedication and ideas that are coming out of this country, particularly in its young people. And you can't feel anything but hope when you come across that, because it's so clear that it can grow again, it can recover. It just needs our support. And there's no question about that. So the media have a great deal to answer for in painting Africa as a quote-unquote basket case. Nothing could be further from the truth.
There's a lot of organisations, aid organisations and Western charities in Liberia, but Emma Thompson's trip was organised by ActionAid. Now, we haven't heard a great deal from David Miliband since he was very narrowly beaten by his brother in the Labour leadership race, but the former Foreign Secretary will be turning his attention this week to the question of why left-of-centre parties have been rejected all across Europe at the moment. And he joins me now.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Now, you were Foreign Secretary for quite a while. What's your take on where we are now with Libya? I mean, if this country is going into civil war, it is difficult for us to stand back, isn't it?
Well, it's very difficult, but I think it's very important that we understand there's plenty of space between invasion on the one hand and acquiescence on the other.